This week on Talking Pictures with Neil Rosen, we'll look at the new film Spencer, starring Kristen Stewart as Lady Di, The Eyes of Tammy Faye featuring Jessica Chastain, and Julia, a new documentary about legendary TV chef Julia Child. Plus, King Richard, with Will Smith as the father of Serena and Venus Williams, and Come On, Come On, starring Joaquin Phoenix. We've got all that and many more movie picks coming up. I'm Neil Rosen. Welcome to Talking Pictures. It's our monthly Critics Roundtable show where we debate what's worth watching and what's not when it comes to new releases, hidden gems, and Hollywood classics. Hey, we're finally back in the studio. And joining me, finally back on the show, is Lisa Rossman from
Hello.
Signs and Sirens. Hey, Lisa, it's so good to have you back.
It's nice to see
Bill
you.
McCuddy is here from Gold Derby. Hey there, Bill.
Neil, I can speak for everyone when I say I miss Zoom, except you looked better fuzzy.
And our pal Justine Browning is here as well. So let's get started with a look at several new women-themed films in theaters they could be streaming too, beginning with Spencer, about 3 days in the life of Princess Diana. Let's take a look at a clip.
They are circling us. Didn't you know? Don't you read?
It seems they're circling just me. Not you, just me.
The thing is, Diana, there has to be two of you. There's two of me, there's two of Father, two of everyone. There's the real one and the one they take pictures of.
Bill, tell us all about Spencer.
Well, director Pablo Larraín understands what should we call them, politically caged women, because he did Jackie a few years ago with Natalie Portman. He's got Kristen Stewart, as you said, in arguably what is the best performance of her career. In, I'm sad to say, an otherwise kind of dumb movie. The Queen invites everyone to the country estate, one of her many, along with her corgis, her grandchildren, the boys, Charles, and they're going to have a festive meal or two that Diana is going to completely ignore. She never comes out of her bedroom to come and have a meal. This movie should be called Guess Who's Not Coming to Dinner. She instead is vomiting, they go hunting, there's marital strife, there's a string of pearls.
She has bulimia.
It's just a horror show, in my opinion, and it's too bad because she's going to be nominated. Kristen Stewart may, in fact, win the Oscar, but the movie around her is a royal mess.
So disagree, and Lisa's also shaking her head.
Well, it's nice to see I took a year off and you still missed the point just as much as ever. Like, next to Almodovar, Pablo Larraín, I think, is our most maximalist stylist out there, and his themes generally are kind of tertiary to his visual choices. But honestly, that works here. Like, the fishbowl feeling of Diana's life is really well captured. And for once, for me, Kristen Stewart's acting, which kind of, she has this thing where she passes off faux naturalism as like deep acting, but here that really works. And I love his choice to keep the time frame super finite. Like, to me, that's the best way to do a biopic, is keep it tight, and he does. So, like I said,
thank God
you don't,
we're not there that long.
Yeah, you really don't know what you're talking about, but it's cool. It's cool.
It's an artistic choice, Bill, to keep the location to a minimum, to have it feel incredibly claustrophobic and anchored. And so in the moments where she is imagining herself running and free, we really feel the pain of her imprisonment. And when it comes to the way that her eating disorder is portrayed, I think it's done so in a way that's palpable and a testament to how Kristen Stewart embodies this larger-than-life figure and makes her human and makes her someone that we're able to connect to.
Listen, it is boring in spots, but I think that's the director's intent, to show you how boring it is. You know, on paper it looks like, wow, this is great. Be part of the royal family.
No, I got that.
I've got all these
that.
castles and
She's the
estates
princess.
and all these beautiful cars. But look, she's a prisoner. It's a horrible life. It's a humorless. They're all cold. The standoff nature. These horrible rituals, like you got to weigh yourself.
Oh, that was crazy. That was crazy.
It was great before Christmas dinner, and after dinner you got to be 3 pounds heavier to prove that you've enjoyed the meal. It's just absurd. And I think that Kristen Stewart, who knows that she has done better movies since Twilight, but who knew that she was this good of an actress? I think she's really good, and I think that I understand why Meghan Markle wanted to flee the castle, so to speak, and flee the royal family after seeing this particular
has extra
film.
resonance.
I think it's well done.
I want to give Sally Hawkins a shout out too, who's the confidant to her and also gives a very good performance. The acting is fine in this film.
Oh, the fine. Is it really
Otherwise
fine?
a horror.
Oh, finally, something positive about it. I liked it. 3 against 1. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about The Eyes of Tammy Faye, about Tammy Faye Baker. Lisa, take it away.
As you said, this is a biopic of Tammy Faye Baker, who actually was Tammy Faye Mesner at the end of her life. And, you know, this was unexpectedly such an original and compassionate film. It's directed by Michael Showalter, who's known for Wet Hot American Summer and The Big Sick, so this is a big switch. And it stars an almost unrecognizable Jessica Chastain as Tammy Faye and Andrew Garfield as her televangelist partner in crime. Jim Baker. Both of them nail their antecedents kind of self-delusional cheer, I think. And this is actually adapted from the eponymous Y2K doc that was narrated, of all people, by RuPaul. So it's unabashedly one-sided. There's no pretense of not fully taking her side of this. It is, however, in on the joke of what you could basically call Tammy Faye's clownishness, and it doesn't shy away from the unholy marriage of capitalism and Christianity that was both of their downfall. But to me, what it captures with a lot of love and humor is what was pure about Tammy Faye, which was that she, I think, genuinely loved everyone, including the LGBTQ community, which is unusual for the Christian world.
They do point that out.
Yep. I mean, it has laborious pacing at some point, but it does the two things I ask of any movie. It humanizes and it entertains.
Justine?
It absolutely does that. I think we have been in a time in recent years where we're taking these larger-than-life public personas of the past and giving them a chance to be heard, and that's absolutely the case here. We get a glimpse behind the scenes, this raw reality that she was living, and we see the nuances of how she built her empire, which was remarkable, and she was really never given credit for all that she was able to accomplish. It's anchored by these incredible performances, I have to agree. Even at times when it veers into camp, I think it's so informative and enthralling.
I wish it had been a little darker. I like the movie. It's 2 hours and 6 minutes long. I'm not sure it needs to be. I think it's more sympathetic to Tammy Faye Baker because Jessica Chastain developed this thing for like 7 years.
10.
But,
10 years she worked on this.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, and
she
it is from her,
great.
and it is from the doc that Tammy Faye made.
Correct, but I mean, it's very, very sympathetic to her. It makes her almost seem like she had no idea what was going on in any of this. I'm not sure that's true, but I'm not sure it matters. The performances are better than the movie for me, and like the last one, so I recommend it.
Yeah, I agree with you, Bill. You know, I think the main reason to see this is for Jessica Chastain's performance as Tammy Faye. And it's amusing, it's entertaining and interesting to watch, but there's something missing here. I don't really know Tammy Faye. Why did she wear all that makeup? What did she really know about all those underhanded dealings and hiding of the cash? Why did she spend so much money lavishly on all these things when you see her early background?
We get a little backstory where she runs into the church and pretends to hear
When she's a little
speak
kid.
in
I do
in
think
tongues
it's
and
interesting
stuff.
that it's the two women in this panel that find the film more resonant, because I think that it does. No, I'm just pointing it out because I do think that it is sympathetic to her, and also the fact that it was pretty amazing what she managed to build.
No, look, I recommend the film. I think
Yeah.
Chastain is great, and I think Vincent D'Onofrio as
Jerry
Jerry
Falwell.
Falwell.
Pretty dope.
With a real twist there at the end, the shifty guy. You know, I think he's great. Andrew Garfield, perfunctory
I
performance.
thought it was great.
No, he's good.
It was really
but
good.
Okay, you know, but again, you know, I would say that, you know, fun moments, you know, admire the performances, but ultimately it's hollow and there was something missing for me. All that said, I still do recommend the movie. Next up is a new documentary that I love called Julia. Justine.
Yeah, well, this offers a really powerful glimpse at the life and influence of Julia Child. It is directed by the Oscar-nominated pair, Julie Cohen and Betsy West, and it's so thoughtful and sweet. It has all of the ingredients, if you will, for a touching production.
What a recipe for a movie.
that captures,
They really cooked this
Let her
one.
speak. Let her speak.
that captures her influence, what she meant to so many, and I think, like the films we've been discussing, really gives you a thoughtful glimpse that you're able to connect to about a figure that I think is often not given her due.
I absolutely adored Julia Child as a kid actor. I worked at WGBH when she was filming her show there, and I really looked up to her as a woman who came into her own in middle age because of her skills and her humor, and not because she was beautiful, although I do actually think she's an interesting looking woman. But as a grown-up, I'm in awe of how she permanently changed American diets, culinary media, and I think this documentary absolutely does her justice with wit and dedication. I mean, there's some really salient details here and some salacious stuff, like her sex life. Who knew Julia Child's sex life would be included here?
She had great legs.
She had great legs, said her husband. And this, okay, ready? It was a treat on every level.
Mr. McCuddy.
Well, I love this movie. Finally, a film that says a woman's place is in the kitchen.
Oh, right. God
Listen,
love you.
She's an American treasure, and I'm really thrilled that we learned a lot more. First of all, like the rest of you, have seen Julia and Juliet and thought that that movie really told us everything we needed to know about her. But this film is
This is
just
so much
chock
more.
full of everything.
She worked with spies.
Yeah, she worked with spies. She sort of talked her way into this TV show in the first place. She worked 10 or 12 years on a cookbook that became a staple, but was told, no, we're not going to print
amazing.
this. I mean, just her story shouldn't have happened, as she points out many times. I was in my 50s before any of that. Like, it all
Where did
happened
that
to her
accent
late
come
in
from,
life.
by the way?
I
She's
have
doing-
no
It's-
idea.
it's-
That's not Boston.
No.
Pasadena, California.
It's a wealthy New England family transplanted to the West Coast. That is that. She sounds like Kermit the Frog.
Living alone by themselves in a big house and only talking to each other.
Bill,
Exactly.
I was going to say the same thing exactly that you said, that if you think you know everything you know from that movie Julie and Julia, where Julia Child was playing by Meryl Streep, there's so much more here.
I'm scraping my potatoes from now on, for example.
The fact that the station, that Boston television station, public television station
WGBH.
that Lisa worked in, I mean, it was just a stupid little segment, that part of another show. It's like, oh, let me cook an omelet, and including Julia Child.
How good did that omelet look?
Yeah,
Oh my
nobody thought
God.
this
You guys,
would
I'm getting
become
hungry.
A
I'm getting
national
hungry.
sensation. She's on Johnny Carson. She's on the cover of Time magazine. It's remarkable.
Yeah.
Lisa
And,
makes
you
a
know,
good point, though. Don't watch it if you haven't eaten, because you're going to be very, very hungry.
I was
for-
so hungry after that
I
movie.
think,
Fortune on her
aside from finding out all about Julia Child's life, from literally birth to death, I think the thing is interesting about the 50s cooking before she came along was just like instant
Right.
food. Just add water and you'll have a meal. And she was like, no, this is just turns the
Pull
whole thing
Sara
on its
Lee
head.
from the freezer.
Highly recommended. We all love the
We loved it.
documentary Julia. Made is the name of a new 10-part miniseries currently streaming on Netflix. Let's take a look at a clip.
Are you the child's legal guardian?
Yes.
Can you prove that?
I can show you my stretch marks.
Are you currently under the influence of any drugs or alcohol?
No.
Are you sure? Because you look strung out.
Nope. We slept in the car last night, so.
So you're homeless.
Justine, tell us about Made.
Well, this stars Margaret Qualley as a woman who flees her abusive boyfriend with her young daughter. And in order to support herself, she starts cleaning houses most of the time for the uber rich. This is based on the memoir by Stephanie Land, and that book is considered one of the definitive portrayals of the wealth divide and the class gap in America. And you can say the same about the series. It really provides a nuanced look at abusive relationships, but it also captures the red tape and the many layers of bureaucracy that one has to sift through to access helpful programs and survive. I think there's a lot of inventive ways that the source material is elevated, and you have these incredible performances, and I think this will, as the book did, help so many.
I initially had a hard time with this series. It's really worthy, it's really well acted, it's really laid out. I agree with you about that. And I read the book, and you're right, it fleshes it out with some interesting fictional details that do make it translate better to screen. It's also an excruciating series. Anyone who has struggled with poverty, who struggled with being gaslit, who struggled with domestic abuse is going to find this super triggering. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't watch it. I just think it's important to know that, because it is also super redemptive. I felt so much better by the end of this series. Like, I hung in there, and I'm glad that I did. I also think the performances were unbelievable. This is Andie MacDowell like you've never seen her before, and she works really, really well with her daughter, who's a central character.
Yeah, well,
And that's her real daughter. People may misunderstand that you
Sure,
meant the
got
daughter
it,
on
fine.
the show, but also it's her real life daughter. I bailed on this thing after 2 episodes because it was so incredibly difficult to get through. I'm hearing more and more people like you guys say you got to stay with it to the end because she comes around. But man, I've got to warn people, it's a slog at the beginning.
It's so rude.
Listen,
like, I'm sorry it wasn't about people in the Hamptons.
Well,
I
you
mean,
just said the same thing.
like,
You
no,
just said, by
I
the way,
said it was
it's-
excruciating and
we
triggering.
should
You're
also
saying
mention
it's a
it's
slog.
the
That's
Pacific
very
Northwest.
different.
It's not the Hamptons,
Listen,
it's the Pacific
take
Northwest.
the journey, Bill, and you will be rewarded by the end by this woman's personal
Take the
growth.
journey.
Okay? And it really is personal growth because it's amazing in this impoverished world that she looks at where she has no money and she's completely dependent upon this abusive, I won't say, they never really say if it's her husband. I think it's just her partner and they share a kid together.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, she has the bureaucracy, the red tape, what she has to go through, and she can't find any job other than being a maid, a cleaning woman. And even that has a whole bunch of red tape in that stupid place that she's working for attached to it. I think it's terrific. I think the performances are great. And I say definitely go with this. And it does get better. You said it's a hard slog to sit through. Well,
All right, I'll go to episode 3.
go to episode
Do
10,
it,
man.
yeah, do
How
it
many
all
are there?
the
There are 8 or
favors.
10? 6, 8, 10? How many are
10.
there?
There's 10.
10 episodes.
There's 10.
But they're all interesting, and I like following her life story and how she matures as she goes away and learns to be self-sufficient.
I agree.
By the way, Nick Robinson, who plays the abusive boyfriend, a character that you don't like, great performance to actually come away and say, this guy is terrific,
He was
even though
really
you hate
good.
his guts. Moving on, Lisa, tell us about a movie called Home.
This is directed by Run Lola Run actress Franca Potenti, and it's a quiet, admittedly somewhat uneven drama about an ex-con who's played by Jake McLaughlin, who returns to his working-class hometown to take care of his dying mother, and who's actually played by Kathy Bates, and she's terrific here. And it's safe to say he doesn't get the warmest of welcomes because of his past crime, which is terrible, by the way. Although there are a lot of plot holes here for me, namely why he did what he did. There's a lot of grace in this study of forgiveness and redemption. Bates delivers a very unusual performance for her. It's very sinewy, it's very subtle. And you know who's in this is Stephen Root, who's to me an unparalleled character
Milton
actor.
from
Yeah,
Office Space.
exactly.
He's been working a lot.
He works a lot lately, and he's always great, and he outstrips the material here as a priest who's pretty much at the end of his rope. I didn't expect to like this film at all. I caught myself weeping a few times.
The performances are great, but the math doesn't work with the love affair as far as I'm concerned. I mean, he's pushing 40, he comes
after,
home, and
yeah.
there's a love story that I don't want to give too much away that just completely doesn't work for me. Again, the performances I think are spectacular. I think you're being too nice saying there's not much explained about the crime that he goes away for. They all talk about it, but they say nothing.
I also don't love when movies over-explain, but I do think even a
Well,
couple
this time
sentences...
they're just throwing it away way too much.
A
They're
couple
not-
of sentences would have helped.
Yeah.
Justine?
I think knowing more about the crime would help to understand the implications around it and also the ripple effect that the whole film is centered on. So that would have been a lot more helpful. But the fact that this is directed by an actor, you feel that. You feel it's so performance driven, and that's what elevates the material. There's a supporting character, his close friend, played by Derek Richardson, the protagonist. And I felt that those moments where they're connecting were incredibly strong, and it's all tied together by a really bare bones performance that I think really allows the material to shine more than you expect.
Listen, you're all right. This horrific crime that this guy committed, I waited the entire movie to find out why would he do something so terrible, because he seems like a sweet, nice guy.
Yeah.
And I'm never told the answer to that. And Bill's right also. There is math that doesn't pay off. There's a relationship that doesn't really make sense and isn't explained why that relationship is taking place. But look, the performances are great, and even though I didn't get that payoff, that ambiguous ending, I was absorbed in the movie the entire time. Jake McLaughlin, who plays this guy, gives a tremendous multi-layered performance. The always reliable Kathy Bates is quite good too. And it's an interesting character study of a troubled guy with a past and how he deals with going back to, they say you can't go home again. Well, certainly I think that proves that theory when you look at this particular movie. And I was involved and I cared about the fate of the main character. And for what it's worth, despite the unsatisfying ending, I do think it's worth a look.
I do too.
Bill, Love is Love is Love. Not my feelings towards you, my friend, but the name of a movie.
And definitely not everywhere on this set. But I will say, Love is Love is Love is made by 85-year-old Eleanor Coppola. And I hate is hate is hate it, because there is really nothing to love about this thing. She is doing 3 short stories. The first one is 2 people on a computer date. The next one is 2 old people who are basically in on a boat in a Cialis commercial. And the last one is a lunch for a dead friend. Listen, the thing about Francis Ford Coppola's wife, sorry, but she just happens to be, she can pick up a phone and get anybody. She's got Sybil Shepherd, Kathy Baker, Joanne Whaley, we haven't seen in a long time, Rosanna Arquette, who hardly speaks, Rita Wilson, and Elia Kazan's granddaughter, and it's still a colossal misfire.
First segment is like 15 minutes. The second, and I thought it showed some promise. It wasn't great, where the couple goes, it's not really a computer date, they have a long-distance relationship, they have dinner together with computers.
Well, that's the first one. The
Right.
one is
The second one is boring, which is also about 15, 20 minutes. And the third one, which is about 45 minutes, is just, it's about memorializing a woman. It was like deathly to sit through the thing.
Yeah, this is the kind of bogus ensemble film that got made all the time in the 1990s. And although its microaggression around class and race, problematic on that level, would have been expected then, it still would not have been okay. But the fact that it was made now, and by the way, looks so crappy, which is crazy given that this is a person whose last name is Coppola.
Well, I think it's such a shame that it's so rare to see women behind the camera, and particularly over a certain age, and in front of the camera. This is one of the first times I can think of in recent years where that was the case, and therefore when it fails so epically, it's all the more disappointing. I think the platform was wrong here. I think that it was a labor of love. You can tell that it was well-intentioned, but it feels like a series of short films that would have worked better that way, and that's primarily her forte, and you really see that, unfortunately, here.
I don't know what her forte is.
Ultimately boring.
One documentary.
Ultimately boring
Oh my God.
and pointless.
Yep.
Watch him hit a few balls. All right. So tell me your names again.
I'm Venus. I'm Serena.
So what'd you think?
I wrote me a 78-page plan for their whole career before they was even born.
Yeah, baby, yeah!
These girls so great, how come I've never heard of them?
They're from Compton.
It's okay. They're just not used to seeing good-looking peoples like us.
I think you might just have the next Michael Jordan.
Oh, no, brother man. I got me the next, too.
That was a clip from King Richard. It happens to be Bill McCuddy's personal choice as we go around the panel with our Critics' Picks of the Month. Bill.
I'm thrilled to pick this because let me state it right now. Will Smith, as the father of Venus and Serena Williams, is going to win the Best Actor Oscar this year, unquestionably. King Richard is the story of the man who took a 78-page plan and took 2 girls from Compton to superstardom in the world of tennis. Now, does it occasionally take some liberties? Yes. It's a version that Ronaldo Marcus Green has kind of whitewashed. Didn't they suffer a lot of racism? Absolutely. Do we see a lot of that in this? No, we don't. But what we do see is a family that loved one another very much, and I think at the end of the day, it's one of the best movies of the year.
All right, what's your pick, Justine?
I'm going to go with Wes Anderson's latest, The French Dispatch. So this takes place at an outpost of an American publication in France, the French Dispatch magazine, and it brings to life a collection of stories that are in the publication. It's a love letter to journalism and I think to auteur cinema overall. It's vibrant, it's colorful, it's a wonderful piece of escapism. You have a cast that really goes for it here, and I just think it has all that you expect from this director.
You know, not everyone loves Wes Anderson's. You know, he has this sort of twee diorama chic. But I have to admit, I do love it. And this is peak Anderson with a new level of melancholy, a new level of wit. And I mean, this cast, Jeffrey Wright, Benicio del Toro, Frances McDormand, my ultimate queen, Tilda Swinton. I love this film.
And the automatic Bill Murray. He's
Yeah,
automatically
always.
in everything
And
Wes
the Wilson
Anderson
brother,
does.
whose name I forget.
What's your pick, Lisa?
It's Come On, Come On, which is one of my favorite films of the year so far. My boyfriend, Joaquin Phoenix, stars. He doesn't know he's my boyfriend, totally is. He stars as a rumply bachelor radio journalist who's traveling the country interviewing kids about Gulp, the future. And he's basically the unhappy solo wanderer until his sister, who's played by the always great Gabby Hoffman, enlists him to watch her 9-year-old son while she takes care of his mentally ill father, who's played by Scoot McNairy, always great also. The uncle and the nephew hit the road together. You know, I almost always hate kid actors, full disclosure, but this one, who's played by Woody Norman, he is so good. He's accessible, he's natural, he's surprising, and this is directed by Mike Mills, who did Beginners, and it's just uncannily shot and observed. It's this sort of lush black and white, and it asks such good questions about what we owe each other and ourselves and our kids when it comes to intimacy and accountability and transparency. Everyone who walked out of that movie was in a reverie, and I really can't recommend it more.
Well,
I love it.
It's probably the most mellow, heartwarming performance that Joaquin Phoenix has
ever
given,
done.
and it's like
Is
a
he
one.
viable as that, though?
No,
I
he
haven't
is.
seen it.
He is. It's a really different,
It's a
different
180
shade for
from
him.
the Joker.
I kept on thinking about who he was when he was a kid in Parenthood. It's that same vulnerability and loneliness, and it's so beautiful here.
Well, my pick is the new 5-part anthology series, The Premise, which was created by B.J. Novak, who you probably best know for his work on The Office. There are 5 half-hour standalone dramatic, sometimes satirical, character-driven episodes that address current hot-button issues. Ben Platt stars in a largely comedic episode about how his personal, not-for-public consumption video is used in evidence in a murder trial. Another good episode stars Daniel Day Kim as a wealthy entrepreneur who gives the school bully who mercilessly tortured him as a child a bizarre chance at redemption. But the most powerful and best episode in the series is called Moment of Silence, where John Bernthal, in a great performance, plays the father of a young child who was killed in a mass shooting at his school, and for reasons not explained until the end, he joins a pro-gun lobby group and becomes their public relations spokesperson. I would definitely check this series out. And we're about out of time, and I want to thank my panel, Lisa Rossman. Again, welcome back. So good to have you here. As always, Bill McCuddy, thanks a lot, and Justine Browning. Anyway, we'll see you next time on Talking Pictures.